Hello and welcome to the Diamond Report for Monday, July 17th, 2017, 7/17/17. This is your host, Doug Diamond. It's currently 1:29 p.m. and I'm going to cover the news from so far today and also from yesterday to catch you up and to kind of get us back to where we need to be for a daily show. Now, the weekends, I think I'm probably going to combine them and do Friday, Saturday together as a show, and then Sunday, Monday together as a show. It's going to be easier for my schedule to do that. That way I'm only doing 5 separate shows a week instead of 7, you know. So the reason for that primarily, though, is that I'm trying to run a number of different businesses, and it's very difficult to find the time to commit 5 hours a day to doing this project. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying there's a lot to it. I've got about an hour to record a show and about an hour to edit the show, give or take a little bit, and then a 3-hour render. So that's, according to my calculations, roughly 5 hours a day for a 20-minute show. And anyway, it'll help me a little bit if I can combine Friday, Saturday together and then Sunday, Monday together, like I'm going to try this week. Currently, I'm over on geoengineeringwatch.org, and I'm looking at the Global Alert News post from Saturday. Dane Wigington does a brand new radio show each Saturday. I help him put that together. He records it and then sends it to me, and I do a quick mastering job on it just to make sure that everything sounds nice and flows smoothly and has plenty of volume and stuff. So I kind of tweak that for him each week, and it ends up in multiple places on Saturday, of course online, but also on terrestrial radio. He's on a few different radio stations as well. Anyway, as far as the article goes here, you can read through this. It's just a paragraph and a half, really, and you can go here and listen to the show. It's just under an hour long, and if you do what I do, I tend to like to listen to things as quickly as possible. So when I hit play here, I'll go down here to the little gear icon that shows up and crank up the speed to about 1.5 times normal speed, and you can get through an hour program in quite a bit less time, maybe 45 minutes or 40 minutes or so instead of an hour. So just a little tip there. If you don't like someone talking fast, then you may not like it, but I like it because it allows me to get through a lot of data and information in a short time. And speaking of Dane Wigington and Geoengineering Watch, today in the mailbox I received my brand new copy of Dane's new book, Geoengineering, A Chronicle of Indictment. There it is. You can see how many pages it is there. It's really a thick book. It's 725 pages. Almost 200 of that, though, is a list of patents. The patents list that's on the website here, geoengineeringwatch.org. Now, this book is not necessarily meant to be read cover to cover. It's a really good reference book. And if you go to the website, geoengineeringwatch.org, and then scroll down to the button over here on the left-hand column of any page, it says DVD and reference book. If you click that, you'll go over to the page about the book that I'm holding. And in addition to this book, he's also printed up some full-color glossy booklets that go with it. This is sort of an addendum to the book. And I don't know, let's see, it's maybe 20 pages, and it has some important pictures and other additional information that is not in the book, and you'll get this absolutely for free with the book. He'll probably send you more than one, because the idea with the booklets is to hand them out for free to as many people as you can. So definitely pick up some free copies of the booklet when you get your copy of the book. Again, here it is. And if you go to the page about the book on the website, he's just asking for $25 to cover the book, and you'll get a free DVD with it, which we have also redone. This isn't even the most current DVD now. A brand new one with new video information has also been put together, so we've got that coming out as well. So he'll send you a DVD and probably some brochures and a booklet, or maybe several booklets and the book. Anyway, all that for 25 bucks. Hard to beat that deal. Anyways, he does accept PayPal, and he's not paying me to say this. I just think it's a really good deal for $25. And also, don't forget, I've got these free geoengineeringwatch.org bumper stickers. If you'd like one or two, just send me a message through Facebook or YouTube or wherever you see this show, and I'll be happy to send you one. I just need your mailing address, and I promise I won't stalk you or anything strange like that. But we're just trying to get the word out. No cost for the bumper stickers. Just just trying to get people to stick them on their cars so that it invites people to ask you a question about it. And then, of course, you can just hand them a flyer or a booklet or something and send them on their way. You don't need to have some long, drawn-out discussion with people. Most people will either stand there and look at you like you're totally crazy, or they may even argue with you and tell you about how you're a conspiracy theorist and you're wrong. So if you want to stay away from that sort of conflict, you can just hand them a bumper sticker or hand them a booklet or hand them a flyer or something like that and keep it real simple. Okay, let's move on to the headlines. U.S. consumers reeling. Core retail sales post weakest growth in over 3 years. This is on Zero Hedge. This goes back to the whole fake market thing. You keep seeing how the market and the NASDAQ and all these things are hitting all-time highs and so forth, and yet we have retail almost completely collapsing in this country. Now, do you actually believe that the market is hitting all-time highs when retail is collapsing and restaurants are having trouble and people are losing their jobs and the middle class is under assault and almost dying on the vine, as it were? I mean, do you really believe that we're able to sustain some sort of a market high like that? It's just totally crazy, and I know people do believe it, but I'm not one of them. And speaking of which, Americans' comfort in the U.S. economy just plunged the most in over 6 years. In an X22 report, alarm bells are going off everywhere. The message: this economy cannot be sustained. I think we're in the middle of a collapse right now, folks. The Vatican press, which of course is New World Order garbage, lashes out at Catholic Trump voters, calls Steve Bannon a supporter of apocalyptic geopolitics. That's on Zero Hedge. Dangerous game, NATO warplanes looking for weak points of Russian air defense. That's on Sputnik News. More Soros-funded groups pile on lawsuits against voter fraud commission. That's on Breitbart. Radical Islam in UK, funded by public donations, finds a government report. Message delivered. NATO shocked by efficiency of Russian operation in Syria. Get used to it. China flies 6 warplanes close to disputed Japanese islands before telling outraged neighbor to stop making a fuss. Massive eruption on the Mountain of Gold volcano in Tanzania is imminent, and it could wipe out key sites in human history, scientists have warned. It has begun. DHS now scanning Americans' faces at airports. Welcome to 1984. You ain't kidding. That's on the Free Thought Project. And from freedomoutpost.com, feeling safe yet? TSA agent prays to Allah outside the Seattle airport. Is that a good thing? Well, considering that Allah, the God of Islam, is actually Lucifer, not the God of the Bible, I would say no, that's not a good thing. Liberal Canada legalized bestiality. Which animals are most at risk? Well, I would say pretty much any animals would be mostly at risk. It reminds me of how the fallen angels wanted to corrupt everything that God created. Not only humans who are made in God's image, but also all of the animals that God created as well. The goal was for the fallen angels to defile and basically corrupt everything genetically that they could possibly do, and that's exactly what they did. All animals, and except for the ones that made it onto the ark, and all humans, again, except for the ones that made it onto the ark, everything else got corrupted. And Jesus warned that we would return to the days of Noah, and as you can see by this headline, that's a pretty good argument that we already are. And speaking of which, the Vatican Church is overrun with pedophiles. More sickness. Haiti official who exposed the Clinton Foundation was found dead in Miami. Seems to me like almost everyone connected with the Clintons in one way or another is found dead somewhere. Either they're suicided or they're just murdered outright. When the next recession comes, it's going to wipe out millions of American families who no longer have savings or investment plans. That's on Natural News. Prilosec, Nexium, Protonix, and Zegerid found to increase death by 25%. That's also on Natural News. Yeah, I mean, basically, if you're taking a drug that increases your death rate by a quarter, you might want to reconsider taking that drug. Romanian immigrants are defecating in the streets and cutting off the heads of chickens, complain outraged residents of a Pennsylvania town. The key to surviving any crisis is to have the right people in place and to be far away from the wrong people. That's on Survival Dan 101. And from Natural News, seriously, what can we expect from government when the excrement hits the oscillator? Migrants continue to enrich Germany with TB, leprosy, rubella, typhus, and whooping cough. That's on the Gateway Pundit. Inside source says Federal Reserve is pulling the plug on the economy. It's an interview with Paul Martin on the Common Sense Show with Dave Hodges. Russian sabotage will precede UN occupation. That's also from Dave Hodges. He writes about that quite a bit on his website. And from Zero Hedge, will Trump use Obama's secret debt ceiling plan to avoid a U.S. Treasury default? Why you shouldn't try to escape America to avoid the coming collapse and subsequent chaos. That's by Mike Adams on Natural News. And also from Natural News, remember the BP Deepwater Horizon oil catastrophe? The oil was eaten up by ocean microbes because Mother Nature heals itself. I don't think so. I mean, I think that was, a lot of that was the Corexit being sprayed. And of course, that's highly toxic chemical. And all that does is it makes the oil sink to the bottom. The FEC shoots down Democrats' plans to target conservative media. Meaning, of course, Breitbart and Matt Drudge and InfoWars. GOP Senator Graham says Trump should appoint 4 Supreme Court justices. That's on Breitbart. And from Natural News, Google slapped with $2.7 billion fine for rigging search results with monopolistic algorithms. Well, Google itself is one massive monopolistic algorithm. Most Republicans say universities negatively impact America. Well, they do. Quote, "We don't have any gays." President of Chechnya says his government cannot have concentration camps for homosexuals as there aren't any in his Muslim-majority republic. Italy plots nuclear option to migrant crisis by giving EU visas to 200,000 incomers and sending them north as the country struggles with human warehouse. Kim Jong-un is shipping tens of thousands of North Koreans to Russia to work in slave-like conditions and stealing their pay to fund his regime, human rights group claims. Well, that sounds like they're trying to make a case against nuking Kim Jong-un. North Korea's biological war. Kim Jong-un's kingdom weaponizes deadly diseases to smash the enemy. Yeah, well, newsflash, we do that too. City fires their entire police department and chaos does not ensue. Should we be concerned that Russia just launched a blanket of 73 satellites into outer space? Another victim of Clinton arkancide. Man set to testify against Clinton Foundation found dead of apparent suicide. That's on the Gateway Pundit. Yep, another total coincidence, I'm sure. From Deutsche Bank, the Fed has created universal basic income for the rich, and now it can't get out. That's on Zero Hedge. What an artificial intelligence researcher fears about AI. That's on Activist Post. The Pentagon tested chemical weapons on 6,000 U.S. troops and won't release the details. That's also on activistpost.com. Yeah, well, the military-industrial complex is testing geoengineering chemicals across world populations, and they won't release the details either. Are there patents to manipulate the human nervous system using electromagnetic frequencies? That's on activistpost.com. All these people have cured serious diseases with nothing but food nutrients. It's on Natural News. We talk about that all the time on LostArtsRadio.com. Russia just launched a secret military satellite into orbit from its new Arctic base of operations, the high ground for planet Earth. Angry Heartland voters think the media is using Russia stories to oust Trump. That's on Breitbart. Well, they would be right. Orange County Sheriff says California's sanctuary state bill is about sticking it to Trump. Over 5,000 neo-Nazis descend on small German town for rock concert. That's on Sputnik News. Assad can stay. Western powers recognize Russia was right all along in Syria. 24 Republicans vote to preserve transgender ideology in the military. That's on Breitbart. Brink of war, 30,000 troops armed and ready for North Korea nuclear conflict. That's on the Daily Star. The deception is mind-boggling. Fox News anchor Shep Smith in blistering attack on Donald Jr. and the Trump administration's lies, quote, about Russia. Yeah, well, talk about mind-boggling deception. Just go watch Shepard Smith and the Fox News channel. Education Secretary Davos to put special emphasis on LGBTQ education in government schools. That's from Dave Hodges. Ron Paul warns cashless society is about authoritarians clinging to power. Those who are already girding for the crash by buying gold and silver and stocking their basements with provisions like canned food and bottled water, the rewards for their foresight will only grow with the passage of time. That's on Zero Hedge. As I mentioned just a little while ago, U.S. restaurant industry stuck in worst collapse since 2009. That's on Zero Hedge. People not amused by the EU efforts to decash their lives. That's on wolfstreet.com. Trump says we're very, very close to replacing Obamacare. That is not a good thing. I think we need to repeal Obamacare and get rid of it and replace it with nothing. 3 examples that show how Common Core is destroying math education in America. That's from Michael Snyder. Electronic snoops who watch everything. That's on activistpost.com. The Department of Justice asks Supreme Court to block Hawaii judge's travel ban ruling. That's on Zero Hedge. U.S.-Mexico border to be policed by artificial intelligence in high-tech new patrols. That does not sound like a good thing. The Clinton body count grows by 1 more. That's on The Common Sense Show with Dave Hodges. And from Freedom Outpost, Rand Paul seeks to remove anti-gun aspects of the GOP health care bill. An X22 report, the next financial crisis will wipe out most paper assets. Biggest Fed flip-flop in history. Greg Manarino, this will all melt down in the blink of an eye. Frightening, the mark of the beast is upon us. That's from Dave Hodges. They are a disgrace. Germany lashes out at UK during explosive Brexit talks with Ireland. Imagine Germany saying anyone is a disgrace. It's going to be catastrophic. Official warns North Korea war will kill millions. That's on the Daily Star. China unveils gene technology to create superhumans with hypermuscular test tube dogs. Well, again, if they are admitting this kind of stuff in the headlines for the public, you could bet they're already doing it and probably have been for decades. Elon Musk unveils apocalyptic vision for the world. That's on Zero Hedge. And on the Gateway Pundit, wow, doubt grows over suicide claim of Clinton email investigator Peter Smith. Child sex trafficking in the U.S. is exploding. Government admits they aren't stopping it. That's on the Free Thought Project. Facebook's Muslim rape threat against ex-Muslim doesn't violate community standards. Well, of course it doesn't. It's Facebook. Honk against Satan. Hundreds of Catholics protest satanic statue in Minnesota. That's on RT. Fukushima to dump 770,000 tons of deadly nuclear waste into the Pacific Ocean. And of course, that doesn't count what's already flowing into the Pacific Ocean from that very plant. Is California bailing out Tesla through the back door? That's on wolfstreet.com. NATO has already succeeded in turning Ukraine into a de facto outpost. That's on Sputnik News. Bitcoin and Ethereum plunge accelerates as scaling deadline looms. That's on Zero Hedge. Iran sentences U.S. citizen to 10 years for spying. You will own them. ISIS orders UK supporters to kidnap non-Muslim children in vile edict. That's on the Express. And a giant media fail. Just 9% of respondents think the Team Trump colluded with Russia. That's down from 18% in April. It's on Breitbart. Erdogan vows to chop off heads of traitors at coup anniversary rally. That's on RT.com. And more from our glorious Pope. Pope Francis says relationships with Jesus are dangerous and harmful. Well, I guess they would be if you're a New World Order globalist scum who doesn't know Jesus from Satan. 6 ways Republican senators are betraying Americans with the latest healthcare reform bill. That's on Natural News. Yeah, there's no reform in this healthcare reform bill for sure. What they need to do is just totally get rid of it. Globalist MAG condemns pro-Trump Kid Rock's Senate run. And I'm sure, though, if Kid Rock was running as a Democrat, they'd be all for it. Emeritus Pope Benedict the 16th. Church is on the verge of capsizing. That's on Breitbart. I think he's right about that. It's probably about time for the Catholic Church to come out and disclose that that humanity was seeded here from some alien race and that the Bible and Jesus are totally fake. Because that's what they want to say. I mean, it's just a matter of time. And then again, if you look at the Catholic Church from the top down, not your average Catholic churchgoer, but from the top down, it is Mystery Babylon with a Jesus face. Catholicism at its heart, at its core, is Luciferianism, not biblical. U.S. earmarks cash for unreliable missile defense as North Korea threatens annihilation. A hideous truth. It's coming, ready or not, the trigger event. The Dave Hodges bombshell. That's with Lisa Haven on lisahaven.news. DHS outlines mandatory biometric ID at airports for foreign travel. That's on Activist Post. And on Natural News, 10 affordable food and nutritional items you can store and hoard before the big crisis hits. Just another day in Venezuela where attempted public lynchings and bombings become the norm. How Finland is preparing for a Russian invasion. That's on Zero Hedge. The way Chicago works. Graft, corruption, political connections, bribes, unions. Health Ranger warns Bitcoin collapse now underway has already plunged nearly 40% from its high. Rand Paul says the Senate healthcare bill doesn't have the votes. That's on Zero Hedge. Watch, perverted pedophile begs for mercy when he is cornered by vigilantes. That's on the Express. Visa offers $500,000 for eateries to stop accepting cash. The economic collapse is here. Have you prepared? That's from Dave Hodges. And more, as I've just been saying, this is terrifying. Will all of your money be wiped out in the blink of an eye? A world with fake markets, fake assets, fake values, fake money, fake people, and fake news. And speaking of fakeness, our Disneyland economy by Michael Snyder on the Economic Collapse blog. Hordes of anti-Trump Democrats are lining up to run for Congress in 2018. PC gone mad. University replaces busts of founding fathers with wall of diversity. Brexit changed my view of Europe. Angela Merkel reveals shock as EU divorce talks begin. Fury at Fukushima. Over 1 billion pounds of nuclear waste will be dumped into the sea. Top official says the decision has already been made. The solution is to pour the radioactive liquid into the ocean. Toxic radioactive water to cause devastation. Well, it already is causing devastation. This is just more tragedy on top of the existing tragedy. And of course, if you know anything at all about the book of Revelation, where it's mentioned about a third of the oceans dying, we are well on our way to that right now. Senator John McCain's surgery to remove a blood clot above his left eye may be more serious than he admitted, and it could require weeks of recovery before he goes back to D.C. D.C. meaning the District of Criminals. Trump will create independent military cyber command that won't answer to the NSA so he can wage digital war against ISIS and other enemies. That doesn't sound good. Only on the surface does that sound good. The rest of it sounds like tyranny. The Turin Shroud is stained with the blood of a torture victim. New research shows supporting the belief that it does show the face of Jesus. Well, of course it does. Kim Jong-un says Donald Trump is bluffing with his threats of taking military action against North Korea. South Korea proposes rare military talks with Pyongyang to ease the tensions on the peninsula. That's on RT. Reebok slams Trump in new ad, decides conservative dollars are no longer wanted. Something to remember when you go to the shoe store, folks. That's on the Gateway Pundit. Progressives freaking out over uptick in birth rates among families earning money from the fracking industry. That's on Natural News. California citizens criminalized for refusing vaccines, while actual violent criminals will be granted legal immunity under new sanctuary push. A video of TSA molesting man's wife exposes what Americans will endure for the false sense of safety. It's a total sham, folks. They are training us to be slaves. A global cyber attack could cause over $120 billion in losses and equal the economic impact of Superstorm Sandy. Rand Paul says healthcare bill is a giant bailout super fund for insurance companies. MIT researchers say global warming data is complete bunk, Well, that's because they're not looking at the right data. They're looking at falsified fake data that has not attributed for geoengineering. Go to geoengineeringwatch.org for the truth. Clinton emails showed donors were rewarded with special Obama favors. Swedish Liberal Youth Party wants to legalize necrophilia and child porn. Will Whole Foods be Amazon's Waterloo? That's on Zero Hedge. Another Muslim fakes hate. They lied about a hijab attack in race hate attack. That's on Freedom Outpost. China deploys nuclear bombers over islands in major World War III taunt. World War III fears new Russian ICBMs can rip apart America's anti-missile system. The West adopts Sharia blasphemy laws. Hannity slams liberal Joe Scarborough in epic tweet storm. Quote, I crushed him on radio and TV. That's on the Gateway Pundit. Megyn Kelly sinks to new ratings low amid reports she is really worried about her future at NBC. Real-time facial recognition could soon be used on police body cameras to catch criminals and find missing people. Islam will plunge the globe into a holy war, and China will be the next superpower. Time capsule found after 22 years hidden inside the wall of a Sydney home reveals eerily accurate predictions of the future. Fracking wastewater found to contaminate lakes. That's on Natural News. Yeah, it contaminates lakes and aquifers and everything. After doing the math, California abandons economic suicide plan to provide universal health care to everyone, including non-citizens. That's on Natural News. And on Breitbart, UK's first state-funded Muslim school taken over by government after pro-rape books found. Thousands of nurses rise up in defiance of Big Pharma's flu shot threats. Good for them. Should definitely check out the website Nurses Against Mandatory Vaccines if you get a chance. And we just covered this on Lost Arts Radio on the Sunday night program with our special guest Michelle Ford talking about mandatory vaccines. Italians are in the streets for the same reasons that Americans will soon be. Well, we hope so. That's by Dave Hodges. Another day, another Hillary felony that should send her to prison. And most likely won't. TEPCO's plan to make Fukushima an extinction-level event. That's from Dave Hodges. Well, that's it for today's Diamond Report. It went a little long today, but I hope you'll forgive me. That was a couple days worth of news. I will see you tomorrow.